Look, it's a flood.
The flood.
It's flooding.
Get away.
Quick, we need to get to higher ground.
Open the floodgates.
No, I'm listen, all I'm saying is it's not hard to get a rumor started about a guy who's starting a revolution, and then all of a sudden everybody rallies around this dude, hoping that that's what the dude from the Proud Boys thought he was gonna be, right? But he liked the media spotlight too much, right? Like, see, but it's easier to do back in 1776, because who the fuck is, it's not like anybody is running around with smartphones taking pictures of George Washington. You could easily tell. I mean, come on, we believe that Paul Revere shit for the longest fucking time, and there's still people to this day who think that one fucking man rode up and down the fucking New England coastline by himself to let everybody fucking know that the British were coming, right?
Actually, the ride of Paul Revere was actually not that long.
No.
Dad and I walked it when we were in Boston.
There was also, yeah, because there were like 4 other people attached to that whole thing, right? One of them was a black dude, and they all had routes that they were running. Paul did not have to run by himself, because that would be fucking crazy. Even back then, one dude is not going to alert an entire fucking colony of people that their ops are on the way. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro.
I mean, like, the city of Boston at the time, was not that big. Like, colonial Boston is...
But it wasn't just colonial Boston that they were like, Boston was like the center hub, but there were still other small townships and things outside of that that they were running to alert.
Were able to, like, mobilize to.
Yeah, because of the system that they had set up. But because here in America we like to grandize things and we like to, like, idol worship, right? We took one guy, we took one of the guys, right? And we made the whole fucking story about him. They've made children's movie or cartoons and shit about this guy. We've got songs about this one guy, and he was not by himself, right? So what I'm saying is, think about how easy it would be to spread a rumor about a guy named George that was ready to overthrow the king, right?
Who started as a pirate. And then a frontiersman.
Right? And now...
a reluctant general.
And now...
and a reluctant president.
He's mythic, dude. Like, I've seen George cut down a cherry tree, and he lied about that shit, but he was so honorable, nigga, that he actually told the truth. In today's day and age,
he would always ride with the front of his troops and come back with bullet holes in his jacket and not a single wound among him. This 6 foot... Oh, I'm sorry. I have to go with the legend. This 7'4" giant of a man.
7'4". Can you imagine?
He was actually like 6'2".
Even still,
Shorter
I
than me.
believe
Like,
that.
he was relative to everyone else to be giant.
That's why I say I still believe that shit is a lie. Because 1770, can you imagine? Other than like the fucking Scandinavians, right? Like 6'2", a Brit. In 1776, at 6'2", yeah, okay, all right.
With heels because of the military uniform.
I'm sure there are some like fucking Anglophiles that are like, what the fuck? This dude doesn't know what he's talking. Yeah, okay, whatever. Like,
my hot take: George Washington wore heels. George Washington dressed in drag.
They all wore wigs and stuff, right? Also, you're telling me this manly ass frontiersman pirate guy wore powdered wigs? And it wasn't because of syphilis? Like, alright, like, so listen, especially an Englishman, right? Well, I guess the English were wearing wigs, even though the French were doing it. That's besides the point. I still stand by the fact that I don't believe George Washington was a real person. I don't.
So it's like signature and all that.
No, it's not real. I think, eventually they picked a dude to just go with the lie because, like, it had gone so far.
Oh, like Paul McCartney.
But yes, George Washington is nothing more than the King Arthur of America.
And the body double.
Yeah.
And John Adams was actually running the show.
Because America...
Where was that, Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Because America is so fucking extra, right? It's literally... America is the lie that you told to get out of something that you had to, like, just go with, right? The colonists got over here, and they were like, we don't want to pay these dumbass taxes anymore, bro. Like, aren't you tired of funding the war with France? And it is literally like a French guy in the background going, oh, oui, oui. I've got your levers and your fur, right? Because they're already over here.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing lots of business with them.
The French fur trade was real.
No, son, hear me out. Hear me out. So, I'll do you even one better. Put your tinfoil hat on. George Washington was French propaganda to get the American colonialists riled up and start a revolution against the British Crown.
I'll take you one further.
No, you can't.
I can't.
No, you can't. You're gonna go completely left with this because you can't top that.
George Washington was an alien.
And the level of insanity is rising
And
crashing through. I just stop and take a moment to say rest in peace to Paul Rubens. You know, because the whole Insanity Rising Up thing reminded me that we lost Paul Rubens this week.
AKA
Pee Wee Herman. If you don't know, now you know. For some of our Zoomer listeners who might not have known, it's not y'all fault. He's 70 or was 70. That was a weird time we went through in the 90s. You guys have your Blippy. We had Pee Wee.
That's a fair comparison.
R.I.P. Paul Rubens. He would have loved this podcast. I hope you guys love this podcast. Welcome back to your favorite weekly pop culture digest, where we take the news happening around us and discuss how it shapes the culture that defines us with our
pop perspective.
To put the culture in context.
And make the mainstream make sense,
because if we don't
make sense, we don't make
dollars. Holla. But I just hope that, you know, we might have made Paul Rubens happy.
We have a couple of things to talk about this week, including...
but not limited to...
updates on the Ukraine war, an IGN top 25 poll of the greatest anime characters of all time.
Donald Trump got indicted again. Twitter is officially...
rest in peace, Twitter.
Twitter is officially RIP'd. And people are throwing more things at celebrities. But first, you know how we like to do. Here at The Flood, we like to see what, you know, tunes are traveling downstream. And this week...
on the algorithm is... 7 by Kook featuring Lotto. We got some K-pop at the top of Billboard 200.
Yeah, it looks like this one is Kook going on his solo, right? Because he's one of the BTS members, isn't he?
Yeah.
Listen, this song is a bop. It's better than In a Small Town, which is number 2 on the fucking charts for some odd reason. That has nothing to do with the bot army at all, I'm sure. It is absolutely not fucking conservative GOP members just streaming the hell out of that shit to troll the lols. They can't be continuously... Then again, country radio is just as bad as the rest of the radio stations are. And if they're not, you know, if they're boycotting Spotify because they're not, you know, they dropped the song, then maybe, I don't know. It's the fucking top 10 charts are like dominated with country music in the US anyway. It was like 3 of the top 5 songs, and then, you know, you had Taylor Swift down there at number 8. Gunna made his way on there.
Selena Gomez on 5th.
Yeah.
But you told me to go back to 1976 and check what was hitting the radio waves that year.
Yeah, was that a country-fied year? What was on the streams then?
We had a lot of disco.
Oh, 76? Yeah, that was like the beginning of disco, wasn't
Kiss
it?
and Say Goodbye by the Manhattan. I don't know that one.
I'd have to, I mean...
Number 4, we both know. Play that funky music, my boy.
Oh, wow.
Number 3, we have You Should Be Dancing by the Bee Gees.
You should be dancing on the dance floor right away.
Number 2, we have Silly Love Songs by Wings. Speaking of Paul McCartney. And number 1, we have Don't Go Breaking My Heart by Elton John and Kiki D.
Okay. Listen. I feel like it might be... Some of the songs might be coming into public domain here soon. I feel like we might be getting a disco resurgence. I feel like...
Oh, can you imagine remixing disco? It'll be like literally 1976 again.
Listen, with all the cocaine that's floating around right now...
I mean, remixing disco is how hip-hop really
got
started. Look at Grandmaster Flash.
They hated disco so much they were like, oh my god.
That one part in The Get Down,
yeah,
just holding the crayon,
yeah.
And he's like, figure out what makes this the key.
That was some real, like, Karate Kid shit.
Yeah.
Like, I really appreciated that because that was some real,
and
like...
he walked around the room without losing feet. I was like, yo, this is some Mr. Miyagi shit.
It really did combine the old school elements of hip hop, right? And like that fascination with like kung fu at the time, kung fu movies at the time, right? It was great.
Like I was sitting there trying to figure out the crayon for so long, and then he was just like, oh, he draws a line.
it was literally just that.
It literally just draws a line on the record.
So you can. That's how you mark your spot. That's how you'll know where to go back to. Yeah, good. Sorry, I could have just told you that, but
anyway, we have a working title segment with no working title because we got some emails. We gotta answer emails.
Ooh, listener letters.
After this break. The email, the email.
That's coming in strong with the bed.
Email is like a prison. Prison with no walls.
Okay, I see you. Listener letters, because we've been around long enough to have listener letters. Shout out to you guys.
Shout
we really
out to
do
our listeners.
appreciate.
Anybody who wants to send us anything you want us to read on the show, thefloodpod@gmail.com.
It's at the Floodpod at everything, and that's on everything.
Yeah,
and you should know that by now.
But it is thefloodpod@gmail.com because it's reversed.
And if you don't know, now you know. But shout out to all the listeners that came through and sent us some listener letters for this week's episode.
So this one is a response to our episode Cruel Summer from Austin C. He said, so when you guys were talking about what you would play if the aliens came down, there actually was an Adam Sandler movie where they were challenged to retro games.
I thought this sounded, the premise of this sounded familiar, and I tried to tell you that.
And the answer to why the Kook was in the White House is a lot simpler. How else is the CIA supposed to make crack?
Wasn't it Ronald Reagan that said, you can go right over there across the street? He didn't get it, right?
That's how, I mean, it might have been George H.W.
Maybe, no, I think it was George H.W. Bush that, yeah.
He's the one that brought the bag of crack on the White House.
Yeah. And it was like, I got it from across the street. I had a guy go and get it. He got it for me. From right back there. Yeah, good job.
Good call.
Yeah. George H.W., that's a real guy. George Washington, not real.
So, this listener letter is from Kenny W.
Shout out, Kenny.
Number 1. There is a supposed whistleblower talking about aliens and evidence that the government is biological evidence of non-human life forms and potentially wreckage.
That's right. This isn't a supposed whistleblower. This motherfucker testified.
He is using verbiage like approved information
that
he is allowed to disclose. So what part of that is a whistleblower? And what do you think the government is trying to pass under our nose while the media shines a light on this alien news? Well, the whistleblower according to Wikipedia, The Whistleblower Protection Act of 1989 is a United States federal law that protects federal whistleblowers who work with the government and report the possible existence of an activity constituting a violation of law, rules, or regulations, or mismanagement, gross waste of funds, abuse of authority, or substantial and specific danger to public health and safety. A federal agency violates the Whistleblower Protection Act if agency authorities take or threaten to take retaliatory personal action against any employee or applicant because of disclosure of information by that employee or applicant.
So the official in question is David Grush, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He was a former military official, whatever that means. I don't know in exactly what capacity his involvement with the military was, but I do know that during his time there, he claims that he interviewed intelligence officials who had recovered non-human biologics from crashed UFOs, and also had claims to information stating that there was a multi-decade Pentagon program for collecting and reconstructing crashed UFOs, right? And then also went on to, elaborate a little bit further on some of the videos we saw released within the last recent years, those ones from the Navy and the Air Force, the sightings back in 2000 that were from like way back in 2004. Right, but they're just now being released through like FOIA requests.
Shot up.
Yeah.
Like a Tic Tac size thing, like shot up a bajillion feet in the air and then appeared a minute later, like 60 miles away.
To touch back on Kenny's point, right? I feel like his verbiage specifically is what calls into question the whole validity of this testimony for me, because he didn't say that he had direct knowledge. He said he had access to people who had direct knowledge, which is very common to what we've heard from these UFO enthusiasts before. It's very common to what the politician from Eastern Europe said not too long ago. I want to say it was like 2014.
Like he's just testifying about his sources. It really sounds like just a journalist.
I mean, pretty much that is what he did, was testify. I have sources that I will go on record saying told me these things. He's literally not doing anything other than being like, no, but Georgie told me that it was real. He said they really have a pool on the roof, and the only reason you can't get up there is because the janitor burned in a fire, and he haunts the upstairs now. Right? That's what he did. That's what he went on Congress. And I mean, listen, to the second part of Kenny's email, though, I legitimately kind of feel like at the moment it's probably to distract from a lot of what's going on with Ukraine, because there's a lot of money being funneled out that way.
It's also a distraction from the fact they let one of these aliens loose, because that motherfucker right there is not real.
And this is your third reminder that George Washington is not a real person. It is a myth. But I don't feel like aliens are not real, though. I feel like this might also potentially be a distraction from the whole Trump thing, right? Like, because he just got a third indictment. And this one is for the election tampering.
I thought he already had 3. Did he get a 4th?
Was it?
I think he has 4 indictments now.
Oh my god, dude. Like, and I'm waiting for the shoe to drop on the Georgia shit, right? Because he's like currently being investigated for that. I feel like there is a lot of kindling being burned right now, right? Like there's a lot of little fires happening that if we weren't distracted by aliens, we might pay a bit more attention to what, like, you know, the overarching encompassing flame is going to be from all of this. Right, I'm not gonna go completely alarmist and say that the house is burning, but there's also the Hunter Biden indictment, right? And the plea deal that he just like fucking backed out of, or whatever. Like, there's a whole lot going on right now. So the question is, I guess, pick your flavor. Like, what conspiracy do you really want to latch on to? Because then there's the French Revolution. That's also a little bit of an alarmist to call it a revolution, right? But there's like the protests in France that are happening right now, right?
Over the retirement age.
Not just the retirement age thing, but the police brutality issue that was going on over there. Like there's a lot of civil unrest happening right now. So I could totally see why the government be like, hey yo, do a testimony about aliens. Go out there. Distract them, make them happy. They love the aliens.
So the next thing Kenny said is in response to the NPC streaming thing that
man.
people are making $3,000 per live session. If I can make $3,000 a session by making stupid noises at an emoji, I'd probably die of starvation because I'd never stop to eat.
Listen, I saw a video that went viral just recently is of a black creator cosplaying Miles Morales, right, doing the NPC streaming, and I begrudgingly, or not begrudgingly, I forget his name right at the moment, but somebody in the background of his stream told him not to stoop so low or some shit like that. And he completely broke character and was like, hey yo, you wanna talk? You wanna fight about it? He was like, 'cause I'll fuck you up right now, bro. Like, yeah. Could you imagine if you were making $3,000 a stream and somebody told you not to stoop so low? Like, listen, I don't always.
I find myself still conflicted about it.
I don't always side.
Yeah, that's a big number, but still.
I'm only conflicted because I don't think that should be your main source of revenue, right? Like, because it's quick money is quickly gained, quickly lost, right? Like
that also would be some ridiculous like mental strain to be like, okay, for these hours I exist as an NPC, and then eventually wouldn't your perception of reality be distorted?
I mean, don't you think that's already happening with them making $3,000 a stream by pretending to be an NPC? This is where I'm getting at, right? Because I don't always side with boomers, but when I see shit like this, I fear for them because this is clearly a wave, right? And it's a big one. And there's potential for people to make a lot of money right now, which people are already doing.
NFTs.
But then what do you fall back on? That fucking NFT that Jake Paul spent, I think it was Jake Paul, spent all that fucking money on, is worth like a penance now compared to what he paid for it, dude. It's like $16K now. It's crazy, and he paid what, like fucking
millions, I think.
Insane, and yes, it is also insane that a girl, like that, a potentially 15-year-old girl is making fucking
827. I'll tell you that much.
Making $7,000 a stream, going ice cream, yum.
The story, and afterwards I thought about it, and it was like Mila Kunis going on that 70s show casting, where they were like, when are you going to be 18? And she just says, on my birthday, and she was actually like 14.
Yeah, dude, come on, man. Like, it's weird. It's a little weird, and it can be like, can you imagine what that would do to like if she really is 15? I don't personally think she's 15 years old. I think she's probably around 19, right? Maybe 17 to 22. I mean, listen, I know they say black don't crack, but I'd be hard pressed to see 27 in that child.
Yeah, definitely not 27. Definitely not 27.
But can you imagine making like, and I don't know how often she streams, right? But she's got to be milking it right now, right, dude? Like, every time you hop on stream, you make at least $3K.
That's ridiculous.
Where in this country? Where in this country right now, if you don't already come from money, are you gonna find a job that you make $3K every time you go to work? Every time, bro. The fuck, at least
Huge-time lawyer?
at
Maybe.
least $3K. Or a stripper. And she don't gotta strip. She just gotta go, ice cream, yeah. The fuck? Of course. You don't think your grandmother would have done that shit? Get the fuck out of here. She'd have been right there at the juke joint. She'd have been right there at the soda shop.
Shucking and jiving.
You don't get to use shucking and jiving.
Is it just like you can't take that, or is it at like low-key racist?
It's not low-key racist. It might just be something offensive. You can do shantying and shimmying or some Irish shit like that.
A jig?
Yeah, you jigging and jiving, right? You could do jigging and jiving. Even that. Right?
That feels like if I was drunk enough and just messed it up.
Yeah, you sound like Liam Neeson. Bro,
Jigga but jiving?
dude, listen.
Like I said, if I was drunk enough and started slurring my words trying to say that, would end badly.
If I was drunk enough, I might hop on fucking TikTok and try an NPC stream, bro. Like, if I thought I could make some beer money out of it, how long do you think it's gonna be before frat bro? There's gotta be, like, bros at a frat house doing fucking frat bro NPC shit for beer
we
money.
do need like $15 for a bottle of wine. If we come on TikTok for like 2 minutes, we can make that, right?
I like how he said we. Like, they love you on TikTok, bro. That's your domain. See, we don't do that weird shit over on Instagram.
I posted some of it. I mean, they don't love me. I just get some joke. I get some likes.
Hey, listen. They're always ready for you to drop another TikTok at the Flood Pod on everything, and that is your third reminder that this is on everything. How long do you give it?
I give it about as long as Threads has been a thing.
Yeah, I feel like by the end of summer, this NPC stream shit will be done. We'll be moving
Except
on
for, like,
to the next
creepy,
thing.
super fetish people.
Once a politician does it. Once a politician.
Oh my, Ted Cruz.
Yeah, Ted'll be the first.
Ted is Ted is shameless enough.
No. See, you missed the real joke is that it's Mike Pence, because Mike Pence has been NPC streaming his whole life.
So, Kenny also just number 3 is just Skibbity Toilet. So I had to look this up, and I just gotta say it reminds me of like Attack on Titan, and I feel like after watching it, somebody was trying to mind control me.
So I definitely get down with the mind control part. Comparing it to Attack on Titan is extra wild. This is a project. So Skibbity Bee is a video series created by DeFuck Boom Animation and a YouTube animation channel. I'm guessing primarily YouTube. With over 100 million views on YouTube at the moment, and there are currently over 50 episodes, you said?
Yeah, and they're all like 2 minutes long.
Right, so this is not like
And
some
they're
crazy
these, like,
series.
monster humans.
They
inside of
are
toilets.
singing toilets that have come to the planet with intents of taking over the world.
And you
And
said that they are using CS:GO and Half-Life 2 as the character models.
yeah, so the animated sources, or the sources for the animation, are taken from assets from Half-Life 2 and
CS:GO.
CS Source. I don't know if that is CSGO. I'm not big into the CS franchises at all. I do know that these assets that they have used are unsettling. The toilet singing is unsettling. They are
the CCTV camera heads.
yeah. So they are the toilet singing aliens are at war with the remaining species on the planet, which is a group of
humanoid with the CCTV camera
headmen.
And then there are some with monitors for heads.
Yes, that emit a THX sound. And
then have fucking like a face supplanted onto the screen like Volvi.
It's unsettling. The whole thing is unnerving. It reminds me of some of like the shorts that I see in like the reels for like Best of Horror and stuff like that. Just real like art housey. I'm using my animation degree. Like it's just that experimentation kind of shit. It reminds me of the fuck was it, Xavier on Adult Swim or whatever. Like I don't know if you ever saw that shit, but
it's wild, yo. It almost feels like something that would have been on Newgrounds.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say it reminds me of like early 2000s internet. But I mean, I feel like Half-Life 2 and Counter-Strike, that's what, like circa 2006.
Like it looks like it's so potentially subversive that there is no subversion and it is just truly random.
I would not call it
CCTV cameras and shit like that. Like
no, dude, a lot of this stuff is just random and it's just imagery that's made to be unsettling. Like
it is certainly that, and yet captivating
because it's unsettling. Like yeah, Half-Life 2 came out in 2004, so I was right on the money.
Yeah.
There. Yeah,
Still waiting for Half-Life 3 confirmed.
I don't think I'll be waiting for more Skibbity Toilet, though. That made me uncomfortable. It made me feel like I needed to scrub my internet history.
It wasn't as bad as, what's the creepy dude? The
Siren?
Rusty Spoons.
Oh, Salad Fingers?
Yeah, Salad Fingers actually makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, no, that really is unsettling. This is not anywhere in the realm of Salad Fingers, but it is like some weird Adult Swim bump shit. Like some shit that would play while you were waiting for fucking
like in between some of the action, it would like cut and be like Cowboy Bebop at 11:30 and then back.
That's what I'm saying. It's some shit that would play right before Lucy and the Daughter of the Devil, and then you would be like, what the fuck? What the fuck was that, Adult Swim? And you'd be like, all right, I guess I'm watching Moral Oral now. Like,
oh, it's another fucked up show.
Yeah. So, was that our last listener letter?
We have one more from
Gavin.
O.
One more. Shout out to Gavin. Thank you once again, everybody who sent in listener letters. We do appreciate them.
So, hey guys, I know this is a little bit off topic. I told him nothing is off topic.
We really, this is a pretty random episode.
Can you talk about how all these states are legalizing weed, but it's not legal federally in the U.S.? And I will say,
it's frustrating.
Walking into a dispensary is weird. You look at your receipt, and it says ATM withdrawal for like $32.50.
Did you? Oh, so you paid with card, like?
And then, but no, they told me they definitely prefer cash.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my god, it's legal and they still prefer cash.
Because banking is weird, dude. Like, there's, I think it was MasterCard just said that they will not allow marijuana. No, maybe.
Yeah, you can't use credit cards. You can use debit cards. You can't use credit cards.
But there's like a major credit card company that said that they will absolutely not allow any marijuana purchases on their like platform. And I'm just like, I feel like that's kind of weird.
Which is why it's an ATM withdrawal.
Yeah, and exactly, because they have to do weird things with money because it's not federal yet, and it's stupid. It's so stupid because national polls all approve legalization. Scientific studies all approve legalization, right? Like, economic studies are all in favor of legalization and decriminalization and ending the prohibition on marijuana, yet fucking good old Steve Rogers, good old Uncle Joe, being just as sleepy with pulling the trigger on that shit, right? And it's like, do you know, I bet you, how much do you want to bet? How much do you want to bet right before the 2024 election cycle kicks off? Or right if as shit is getting messy, Joe pulls that shit out like a fucking Hail Mary and is like, by executive order, I am rescheduling marijuana. Like,
so, Gavin gave a little bit extra context.
I mean, do we need extra context at this point if
it also
you don't
ties
know?
into the over-incarceration problem.
Well, yeah,
and
yes.
the underinvestment in cities
Yes.
in order to prioritize suburbs that don't collect enough in
Taxes,
revenue
no.
to pay for services, which
For
is
the
why
cities.
are poor and suburbs seem so nice.
Yes.
Which is also why roads are so bad. Gotta maintain everything in suburbia, which is why miles and miles of roads to essentially nowhere, while roads that serve thousands or tens of thousands are left to rot.
Yeah, no, dude, that's also literally to keep people from the city from going out into the suburbs. Like, I mean, that might be a little bit tinfoil hat talk, but that's also why dirt roads down in the country are still dirt roads, because they don't want them coming to suburbia either.
If you want to call out Baltimore specifically, look at what happened with the Red Line Metro Rail and how Larry Hogan pulled almost $2 billion in funding from the city only to turn around and blame city leadership for not investing in social services the next year around 2050.
And that's exactly what the fuck Brandon Scott and them have been saying, right? Larry Hogan completely, like, and to the favor of lots of people on the shore, right? Because, you know, Baltimore is everybody's fun little fucking punching bag when it comes to what's the problem with Maryland? How come Maryland can't get straight? It's Baltimore. It's Baltimore's fault. Yeah, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Totally Baltimore's fault. Right? Yeah, no, it's totally weed's fault that people can't get their acts together. It's marijuana is, you know, there's lots of jobs that still drug test for marijuana, and it's legal in your state.
Yeah.
There's lots of jobs here in the state where, you know, you can be fired for that shit, or you can be denied a job placement for smoking a little bit of fucking weed, right? While there's also like a huge fucking heroin epidemic rolling around here. Like, also,
I will tell you, I got my
dude, there's like
When
an
I got-
employment shortage, right? Like, there's wanted signs all over the place.
speaking of the heroin epidemic, so I went to a dentist from the state dental plan, and it was a small place, and I had a triple root canal, and he gave me some Advil, and I was like, all right, cool. He's like, if you need anything stronger, just let me know. I'm like, all right, I'll be good. And he's like, no, seriously, if you need anything stronger, let me know. And I'm like, I think I'll be good with the Advil.
Dude, that's like, I told you about the nurse who, after like my nose surgery or whatever, asked me if the doctor gave me any narcotics, right, for my pain, and she goes, keep those. And this is after me and her having a discussion about the legalization of weed in the state, and she was like, what, are they gonna make everything legal next? And I'm like, bro, the dissonance, right? Like, just the disconnect. Like, the disconnect there. It's crazy to me that we still live in a day and age where it is considered acceptable to villainize such a, like, and I don't think it's a wonder drug, right? But I do think it's harmless, and I do think that it has done more objective and abjective harm to social economic development of this country. The war on drugs is a terrible failure.
Yep.
It's an absolute terrible failure. And as
You want to know why? You know who likes drugs?
white people,
Everyone.
well, yeah, especially George Bush.
George Washington.
It's not real. It's not real. You can't do drugs if you're not real.
Everyone was actually on peyote and collectively imagined
I
George Washington.
would argue that there was a lot of, I mean, like, they were growing hemp, and like there's probably a lot of weed smoking going on. There was also, so can you imagine? And the alcohol was like much stronger, and it like had lead in it back then. So yeah, a rumor gets going around about a guy who's like mythical and believes in the idea of like freedom and the rights of man to like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, bro. Right? Like, you get those guys. You get those guys riled up about somebody coming to take their happiness. Come on, man. It's easy. It would be so easy to just lie and be like, yeah, no, I know a guy. It's
It's another example of
1776.
something that is, there's a spiderweb effect when it comes to...
I think the forefathers, if you know, our forefathers, the real ones, not George Washington, but the rest of them, right? Like Thomas Jefferson, who loved weed, right? Like they found
He
weed
loved a little bit more than weed.
Yeah.
Family Guy skit. Alright, can we get everybody in the picture?
Yo, they found weed all in his like journals and stuff like that, little crumbles of the shit in his pipes.
There's
like
a show called The Jeffersons.
Abe Lincoln, I'm sure, smoked a little bit of hemp, right? Like, listen,
It all went to his head.
you used to be able to buy the shit by the bale in fucking drugstores throughout this country,
Yeah,
right?
you could buy morphine and call it Dr. Dude's tonic.
You can still kind of do that. I mean, you can fucking buy, like, tannerite, can't you? And that shit is, like, part of an explosive. But
And
you
yet
can't...
marijuana is classified as a
Schedule
stage
1
3
drug.
federally?
You can buy a flamethrower through Amazon. But I can't smoke weed or have it shipped to my fucking house. Right? Like,
Spencer is a fucking drive-thru, which is wild.
that's what's up, though. I appreciate that.
Cop's sitting right out there with the radar gun.
He's just waiting to see who got their windows rolled up, right? It's a little cloudy in there. Yeah, no, they can't even, like... I appreciate Maryland for, you know, preemptively making it not okay for police officers to pull people over because they smell weed. That's when I was like, they trying to... That's a soft rollout, you know?
Yeah.
That's really like, all right, we all know what it is. Like, we're about to just be... I mean, DC already made... How could you not? Like, it's legal in this one tiny part of Maryland.
Yeah.
But don't you travel outside of that part with no fucking pot, don't you dare.
Maryland! That's right, Virginia. I'm throwing shade.
Yeah, because what, the corners of DC are in Virginia? Ooh.
No, that's Alexandria.
Yeah. That's Alexandria. That's not even DC. Alright.
We were like, we'll willingly sacrifice some of our land to put the nation's capital in. What about you, Virginia? Nah.
Yeah, no, I think it's ridiculous. I even if states decide to keep it illegal, I think they should just go ahead and decriminalize it, right? And then we can do what the libertarians are always saying and let the states choose. Let the states choose, bro. They want to, you know, I mean, but then again, the Supreme Court thinks that it can tell everybody whether or not the right to an abortion is, like...
Yeah.
That's this country's crazy to me, bro. Like, I can't handle it sometimes. They just kind of...
Goes great for our listener letters.
Shout out to you guys once again for you know, breaking my brain and and causing me to have these moral and existential crises live on air for everybody. I guess not live, right? It's live for me though. I hope it's been live for y'all. We really appreciate it. And we'll be right back at you guys with some more after this
break. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
So, I was talking with somebody who is pretty and up to date on the war in Ukraine, and he gave me some updates.
And boy, are there updates. I've been, you know, when I catch NPR, they are often talking about
Ukraine is
what's
kicking
going
the shit out of Russia right now.
Yeah.
Ukraine is leaving Russian tank wreckage all over Ukraine. And Russia just keeps throwing more and more men at the war, ignoring that the Soviet 1940s years are behind them, and they don't have a glut of farmer families with 8 sons and 5 daughters out in the field anymore. You've got 2 cities and a bunch of towns. And suddenly, a real problem finding people to work because 500,000 people rather run than take the draft, and then 250,000 more died in Ukraine. Yes, 250,000.
Yeah, no, those are stark numbers. I feel like, but that's amongst what the I would say average media reporting is saying, right, and outside of Russia.
That is what the Ukrainian estimate is. Russia says 40,000 max.
Yeah.
Which one you want to believe?
Listen, Russia has always been a throw men at it till it goes away kind of country. So yeah, the idea that the war has been going on for this long and they would only have suffered 40,000 casualties when Ukraine has suffered, I believe, somewhere in the upwards of, like, what, 100,000?
Theirs is
150?
200,000.
Yeah.
Less than 200,000.
Less than 200,000,
But
yeah.
not by much.
No.
The ruble is at the lowest point since the USSR dissolved.
So it's right around where, you know, America's money was at the time. It's like, no. At the time of World War II, America's money was a bit better than that. But America's money right now is about 1920 standards. So.
But Russia is also cut out from external banking, which leaves Russian citizens to rely on state banking.
Yes.
There's also a massive problem finding employees because every man between 18 and 50 is getting conscripted unless you live in a city. And even then, the sanctions make any sort of domestic manufacturing all but impossible because Russian manufacturing always required outside components which the Russians assemble. Same for their weapons.
Right.
Oh, and the industry that makes up 65% of their economy, all of Western Europe stopped buying it from you at a premium, so you either have to sell it to them on sale or not at all.
But this is kind of the issue that this kind of economic isolation creates, right? Because Russia was kind of facing this firewall before the Crimea thing, right? And to play devil's advocate here, that's kind of why the whole Crimea thing happened, because Ukraine was talking about joining NATO, which would have completely landlocked Russia from all of its important ports, right? The only other port they have is frozen for half the year. Yes, I mean, that's essentially what Putin claims this whole thing is about, right?
Sweden
Other than
is now a member of NATO, which is 40 miles away from St. Petersburg.
Right. And lots of people will make it about, oh, the missiles, the placement of the missiles. It's not, we're almost kind of past that. Like, when missiles get involved, you know that the money is fucked, right? Because there's too much money going around right now amongst the rich, not amongst us. That's the problem here. Is there's a consolidation of power happening, and there's a shift of power happening, and Russia, Putin is kind of waving his dick on his way out, playing and taking a really risky strategic chess maneuver that he clearly overestimated his ability to pull off in.
Now, Russia's main way of actually producing and acquiring money to fund this war, for the meantime, through Russian oil.
Which has always been,
Which
right?
China and India were taking advantage of, but they didn't want to buy as much as Russia wanted to sell.
No.
And that's because in Russia, if you shut off the oil pipeline, the oil will freeze. So they have to keep the oil constantly moving. So Russia's only way to support this war is to literally drain their country dry. Like it's the fucking life stream in Final Fantasy.
Which is kind of what they did during World War II. But it was a little different then.
The Russians don't have the technology to really build an industry again because they cannibalized it to make their tanks.
I don't know if I would go as far as to say they don't have the technology to make the industry again, but it would take leaps and bounds, which I would also push back to saying that the Russian people are not below, right? Like they've shown that they can be a resourceful people, right? Like, the last thing I would do is count a Russian out.
NATO has been low-key recruiting Sweden for years, because if you actually think about the distance between the two, that's like Cuban Missile Crisis. But Sweden saw that Russia was on the warpath, and no one expected Ukraine to pull this out of their ass, and was like, if Ukraine falls, it's up to us or Poland, and then Poland's gonna pull into NATO, so...
And I was gonna say, didn't one of them just pull into NATO?
Sweden.
Was it Sweden? Okay, and Poland is still
was still recently.
yeah.
though.
Poland is still sitting on the fence, right? One of them I thought was sitting on the fence.
Russia really wants to hold the upper Baltic region. Currently, you mentioned this earlier, they have one point in Kremenina between Poland and Lithuania that never left when the USSR collapsed in 1991.
And once again, the whole reason that port is important
Is because it's one of their few semi-warm ports.
yeah.
Because there are certain goods that if you try to import them in an Arctic port, it's not tenable. Like maybe certain types of food or things like that.
Or even things that's like technology, dude. Like certain components electronically like need to be kept in certain temperatures, dude. And when you put things like that through extreme shifts, it warps like the quality of certain metals, it warps the quality of certain chemical components and things like that, right? And getting them shipped from like the other side of because let's not forget, Russia is a massive fucking country, right? It encompasses 7 different time zones. Most of the country is actually on one side, the side that's landlocked and doesn't have any ports of entry. So getting things there is super fucking hard, right? And that's been Russia's problem with Europe the entire time. It's like, you guys always think about us last. And they're like, aren't you China? We thought you were China.
During the discussion with Gavin actually mentioned that Russia shouldn't be worried about the US, but what they actually should be worried about is Canada, because they technically share the largest border if you consider flying over the Arctic. Canadian soldiers are responsible for adding nearly half of the war crimes now illegal by the Geneva Convention.
What?
And I said,
That's
so
not
like
funny,
a bunch
but
of
like,
fucking Wolverines.
what a-
And he was
wow.
like, Wolverines, try Sabertooths and Magnetos. The ends justify the means. So
Who knew
they would do
Cana-
things like throwing food into German trenches to get the Germans to all clump up and then toss in pipe bombs to the gathered soldiers. Sneaking behind enemy lines with gas canisters to flush out the German trenches so they can literally stab them in the back.
Was this just a roundabout way to shit on the Canadians? Because I feel like now we're attacking Canada. Blame Canada. Blame Canada. Well, there were rumors, before you go any further, I was going to say there were conspiracies that if the Ukraine thing had gone over a bit smoother, that as a grandstand, Putin was going to try and annex Alaska. But I'll let you guys go ahead and dig through Reddit for where I got that one.
Gavin theorized how this would play out if it actually did. It would be from conventional troops from Europe and Japan, missiles from Black Sea, Mediterranean, and the Sea of China, but submarine and shock troops all over the northern border with camo snowmobiles to get through undefended country. And why would this be possible? And that is because Japan is a U.S. ally. Why is all of this happening? It is because of how the end of World War II happened. Like you said earlier, with America walking away with half of the wealth of World War II.
Not half of the world, half of the global GDP. America had over half of the global GDP coming out of World War II.
NATO was formed with the backbone of the United States military as the backbone.
Yes, after Russia did all the legwork for World War II, because now legwork meaning the sons of the farmers, right?
Yeah.
But still, that was a lot. Like, not for nothing, Russia won World War II. It wasn't America. America came in like the sly wild card character in the heist movie at the end and was like, I've got a plan. And Russia was worn out and was like,
No, America was Clive Owen, an inside man.
oh my god. And
He
walked
robbed
away.
the bank and then stayed in there for 30 days and then walked out.
Yeah. and walked
He's
away.
literally Clive Owen.
We
We are Clive Owen from Inside Man.
which is funny because Clive Owen is British, isn't he? But George Washington is not real.
So, in exchange for getting into NATO and essentially the military production of America, you would demilitarize your country for inclusion into the American and Euro economy, stimulating your economy.
Because America had over half of the global GDP,
And in
so
exchange,
they got to
America
make
will
the
protect
rules.
you, which is why there's bases all over the world.
Yes, because we were spreading American prosperity, which was just Nazi gold that we stole. Ask Sweden.
After the war, they really put only about 2 years of effort into trying to reform Russia, so they just let them lapse into a failed state.
Yeah.
Instead.
Yes, they absolutely did. NATO absolutely
Which
did.
is the same thing that happened in Afghanistan and Iraq as well.
Yes, it is. But Russia had a hand in that too.
The biggest export America has is the petrodollar, which is the hyper-stable currency ensured by full faith in the U.S. government.
Well, I would say, the biggest currency we had. I don't know if it is now. It might be.
It is the standard used for fossil fuel transactions.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that is steadily on the decline, especially with the push for renewable fuels, and with the other global partnerships that are being developed, like the one between Russia, India, China, and Brazil, I think it is.
Now, the other thing is, while Japan is not a NATO country, they are a U.S. ally. They also did a light version of this, where they demilitarized to a point.
A degree. They have a defensive wing, just kind of like how Germany does. Like
historically,
I don't know if
you have to kickstart the Japanese war machine, it's gonna be ugly.
I don't know now though, because once again, warfare. The fact that Putin went boots on the ground when it comes to an invasion of Ukraine is what was so crazy, right? If we really had time to dig into it, I'm sure we could go back even before the annexation of Crimea and see that there were strategic. I mean, Zelensky was put in place after the last president was kicked out for being corrupt and in bed with Putin, right?
Zelensky's the man.
Putin was trying the long game. Today's game is the long game. It is cyber warfare. It is political, strategical, financial takeovers, right? It is not boots on the ground. To get to a boots on the ground point in today's war games really is an escalation that the rest of the playing field sees as aggression, right? That's why the global economy has shifted so harshly towards Russia. Even its allies, like in the BRICS alignment that Russia helped foster, are like, yeah, we'll help support your economy, but we're not supporting your war effort, right? Like, even China, as much as they bolster with their military parades and stuff, doesn't want a boots on the ground war.
Yeah.
They're
also like Russia in huge land mass, but majority of their population is located on the southeast coast of China.
Yeah, it's these because every major country has fostered these huge dense population centers, right? Because they are they almost function as the motherboards of the.
Because there's not much you can do in a landlocked state.
Well, not just that. We have them here, dude. Look at Texas, right? Texas is big as shit. But if you look at, a population map of Texas, it's all accumulated in,
There's
Like
a
the
reason
middle
that
triangle.
all the movies that take place in Texas have like long, empty dirt roads.
Yeah.
Because it's real.
Yeah, most of Texas is fucking empty, dude. And most of the people in Texas live in like Dallas, Houston, Austin. Like, that's it. Those are like the population centers, and they want you to believe, the GOP wants you to believe that the people outside of the city are being forgotten about. No, they're not. There's nobody out there.
They want their land. That's why they're out there.
There's nobody out there, dude. I beg of you to pull up a population map and compare it to like a voting demographic map, and see how they line up. It's funny. It's one of those things that'll break like the fourth wall for you, because it just, I don't know, it changed my perspective on like the way, on listening to these politicians talk about their delegates and stuff, the people, and gerrymandering, right? It'll help you look at gerrymandering completely differently too. Sorry. We're supposed to be talking about Ukraine.
Oh, we're about to change the subject.
Because there's not much to talk about. I pray for both the Russian people and the Ukrainian people, because they are both caught up in
Some bullshit.
a war that has nothing to do with them.
Do you want to destroy brand recognition?
Are we gonna ask Vladimir Putin how to destroy brand recognition? Because I
No,
feel
we're
like
gonna change this podcast's name X to Y plus Z Alpha.
listen, you're never gonna make fetch happen.
You're never gonna make X happen, Elon.
And he's been trying since the 90s. He wanted to name PayPal X. And every single, it's just, I'm sure
Porn.
you guys have,
Porn.
yeah.
It's porn.
Every single
is just like-
focus group study they've done on the name, because he's paid to have several focus group studies done, is like, yeah, no, it reminds people of porn, Elon.
Yeah,
And
somebody like hijacked Linda Yaccarino's old account name
oh god,
and like said, "Oh, you can get all of the new stuff at xvideos.com."
but I feel like that was in retaliation to the guy who had the X handle, and they just
And they
snatched
stole it.
Yeah,
They just stole it.
Elon you could have paid that dude for it.
Yeah.
He could have easily just paid that dude for it. Like what, 25K? Do you think I would? That's pennies.
He doesn't even post that often.
That's pennies. They could have paid that dude probably 2K. And he'd have been like, alright, 2K, and bought him a PlayStation 5? Yeah. Hey, you could have the handle. Bro, it's not that important to me. Right? No, instead they deboed the fuck out that man. Right? So they get what's coming to them. I will not condone the AI generated porn though of Linda Yaccarino.
What?
We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. However, if you guys want to put Elon's face on a pig body and somehow CGI it into that scene from Black Mirror, I don't think that would be a bad meme.
Oh my god. Yep. That episode of Black Mirror was so wild.
Yeah, the Black Mirror is coming back.
You know what else is coming back? Castlevania!
Hopefully,
They released the teaser trailer for Castlevania Nocturne, and I'm super excited. The animation looks gorgeous. The setting looks awesome, and the trailer didn't reveal anything about the plot, which is great.
good. As long as it isn't as predictive as Black Mirror, I think I'll be fine. I actually don't want any more Black Mirror, because it just seems like it just keeps coming to life, to real life, and I'm tired of it. There's a new season of The Witcher. The new season of The Witcher is out.
Panned.
I don't know if it's terrible. I do feel for the fact that Henry isn't gonna be there anymore. I think that's why it's getting panned, because fans are mad at the show, and now we can do that. We can see. Alright, I kind of want to rant about this. I was kind of ranting about it earlier when I was talking about the Jason Aldean song being number 2 in the country at the moment. I'm really over the availability for people to democratically express their opinion. I'm calling for an end to democracy. No, what I am calling for an end to, though,
is an establishment of the breaking of the paradox of tolerance.
No, I'm calling for an end to these organized, like, hate campaigns, right? Where, like, people specifically, like, go in to, like, denigrate a thing without, like, even attempting to consume the media, right? Like, there was something else that happened too recently. I think it wasn't the Barbie movie, but I feel like the Barbie movie was starting to become a victim of this, right? Where people who hadn't even seen the movie are, like, trying...
Or like Jason Aldean, but the opposite. Not reading into any of the subversion.
Well, I mean, Jason Aldean knew what he was doing, dude. He literally intercut Black Lives Matter footage or protest footage into his music video. He knew what he was signaling.
Yeah, but the audience members might not. You gotta remember, people are dumb. A person can be smart, but people are dumb.
I guess we're having a discussion about intent then, because it's like, does Jason Aldean's intent here... I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I said his name weird just now. Does his intent matter more than the effect? Right? Like, if King Donald Trump pins a Mein Kampf... If Donald Trump caused a riot on the Capitol, but the riot didn't lead to much other than, one Trumper getting murdered and, a couple of people suffering from PTSD. Like,
I think 4 cops died.
Yeah. I was thinking of what is her name? Heather Heyer or whatever. Yeah.
Well, no, that was the Charlottesville.
Oh yeah. See, I can't even remember the one Capitol rioter's name that died, but you get my point, though, right? Like, yes, there were casualties that happened at the Capitol riot, but it was not an the insurrection did not become like an overturning of the government, right? So, but we look at that and we're like, it was the intent that mattered, not the overall outcome. Like, yes, that was bad. It could have been worse, but the point was, you wanted that to happen.
The biggest disappointment about January 6th was Batman not suplexing a single Nazi. The guy that showed up in the Batman costume, pick a side, and hopefully it's fighting Nazis.
Yo, so does his dog whistling matter more than his listeners actually picking up on it?
The dog whistling matters more because if he didn't do it, the listeners wouldn't pick up on it or fail to not pick up on it to begin with.
So, then...
But people defending it are ignoring the subtext.
Do you think hating on a show because of controversy that you support of the show or behind the show is worth not actually watching the content to see if it was good or not? No, I mean, well, yeah, I guess, like, you see, let's take South Park for an example, right? Like, you hear some of the controversy about South Park, right? Like, some of the celebrities they've made fun of or in the ways they've made fun of them, but you never watch an episode, right?
Yeah.
Can you ultimately say the show is bad?
No.
That's why I said I had to, when we introduced the Jason Aldean song, I said I wouldn't make a judgment on it because I hadn't seen the music video and I hadn't listened to the song yet. Once I listened to the song and I watched the music video...
Check him out on Threads. On Threads.
Not Jason Aldean, me, at Signature Doc, where you can find me on Instagram, or at the Flood Pod on everything, and that's on everything. I do feel like, that he knew what he was doing, and he can play dumb as much as he wants to, right? But once again, to somehow tie that all back into The Witcher,
damn, we're good.
I feel like these organized hate campaigns. Oh, The Little Mermaid is what it was happening with. right? Like, the people they collectively went on the Rotten Tomatoes thing in an effort to lower the Rotten Tomatoes score before even seeing the movie.
Is it bad that I only knew the movie was coming out because of the controversy?
That's my point, right? Like, people didn't even give it a chance, right?
I didn't even know they were making a Little Mermaid.
As much flack as I'm probably going to catch for this, because I do think that it was a poor and very poor taste, right? I thought a lot of the flack that Ghost in the Shell got, right, was not undeserved, but I feel like
Ghost in the Shell's universe allows for that to happen.
took away from what that movie could have brought, because visually that movie looks stunning, right? Like, the live action, like, I don't know how it holds up now to today's standards, right? Because things have come so far in even such a short amount of time. But I still feel like when that trailer dropped, dude, I was like, what the fuck? That shit looks...
Major Makoto can look like anything she wants to look like.
I do feel...
I
I still feel like it was in very, very poor fucking taste.
It was.
To not cast
It was.
an Asian actress in that role, dude. Because it completely ruined what could have been a cinematic or what could have been perceived as a cinematic masterpiece, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think, hot take. Ever since that busted ass Ghost in the Shell, I don't know which one came first, the fucking live Death Note or the Ghost in the Shell, but I feel like ever since that busted ass Ghost in the Shell casting, people have had a sour taste in their mouth about anime live action remakes, and that's why people collectively jumped on Cowboy Bebop and hated on that shit so much it got canceled after one season.
And everybody is so fed up that everything is bad live action anime adaptations that they're grasping onto the One Piece and its sliver of hope that it's maintaining the campiness, thinking that One Piece once again can save a different genre.
I still to this day don't feel like that Cowboy Bebop live action
It was not nearly as bad as people think.
No,
I still
no,
don't think so.
it was not nearly. And that and that I feel like is how I feel about this third season of The Witcher, right? Like, the writing in the second season was a little all over the place, right? It seemed like they were trying to find a way to tie in and tell the story in a coherent way. But now we know that is because these Netflix writers are put under a fucking rigorous program that is not maintainable.
Yep.
Right? Also...
Season 3 would have been better if you paid the writers, people.
Also, it might have been better if the writers had actually read the source material.
That's also true.
But if they were paying writers good money, they might have read the source material. Dude,
Well, if we're going to talk about Ghost in the Shell and source material, how about we'll talk about the 25 greatest anime characters according to IGN after this break.
You take a sound, any sound, record it, and then change its nature by a multiplicity of operations. You record it at different speeds, you play it backwards, you add it to itself over and over again. You adjust filters, echoes, acoustic qualities, you combine segments of magnetic tape. By these means and many others, you can create sounds which no one has ever heard before.
So, nerd outlet, basically eternal, IGN, released their ranking of the top 25 greatest anime characters of all time.
which is essentially the nerd outlet like Rolling Stone's top 25 greatest rapper rock blah 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 bullshit, because this list is I don't know, lots of fan
I
service.
have a few problems with this list.
Right off the bat.
Well, let's go down the list first.
You want to start at 25?
Oh, we're going 25 down. So, number 25, they have Astro Boy from Astro Boy.
Okay.
24 is Vash the Stampede from Trigun.
Okay.
23, Lelouch Liamprouge from Code Geass. 22, Light Yagami from Death Note. 21, Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay.
20, Gon Freeze from Hunter x Hunter. Number 19, Makoto Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell.
Right.
18, Levi Ackerman from Attack on Titan. 17,
Okay.
Kakashi from Naruto. 16 is Guts from Berserk.
Yeah.
15 is Arsène Lupin III from Lupin III. 14 is Jotaro Kujo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. 13, Roanoa Zoro from One Piece. 12, Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. 11, L from Death Note. 10, Himura Kenshin from Rurouni Kenshin. 9, Shinji Ikari from Evangelion. 8, Sailor Moon. 7, Vegeta. 6, Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop. 5, Goku. 4, Johan from Monster. It's the only one of these I haven't seen. 3, Naruto Uzumaki. 2, Edward Elric from Full Metal. And 1, Monkey D. Luffy.
Listen. This list, it covered lots of decades, right? So it was a pretty varying list. It's got characters on there from, the early days of anime to the golden years to these new Twilight days, right? But let me break it down for you real quick, because I have one really big flaw with this list.
There's only one woman on it?
One. It's also no anime characters of color, and there's one real big anime character of color I feel like should be on here, dog. Come on, how they gonna leave out the Silent Samurai? Your boy Afro. You cannot deny the popularity of Afro Samurai. I did not mean to Samuel L. Jackson rhyme that shit just now, but for real though. For the standalone fact, for the fact that Afro Samurai is a standalone series with fucking 11 episodes maybe and a movie. No, isn't it just a movie? It's 2 movies, right? Fuck. And Monkey D. Luffy being number 1? No.
That's congratulations. You came first in the marathon.
No, absolutely should either fucking be Goku or Pikachu. Yeah, and I said that. As most popular anime character of all time, if we're talking about
greatest anime
greatest anime character.
Which makes us even more skeptical.
Yeah, that's also more subjective, but it should also still be Goku. How the fuck is it not? I would argue that outside of maybe Sailor Moon and Lupin the Third, there's no other anime that has been in more households on this list than Dragon Ball Z.
Astro Boy, maybe? Just because it was the only one?
That's why I said Lupin the Third, right? Because by the time Lupin the Third came out, it was also one of those animes that could have easily ended up on a Saturday morning kids cartoon list if you weren't careful enough.
Okay, so here are a few ones that I'm just these should have been on here, or why were they not represented at all? Some shows just not represented. Yusuke? Urameshi?
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho is the tournament anime of all tournament animes.
Killua is a more nuanced character, is a better character than Gon.
I think Gon captures that plucky, happy-go-lucky, high-spirited kind of
Yeah, I love Gon
shonen
because he
stuff.
does that. They do that, but they also do it in a way where he's not, stupid.
That's why I said plucky, happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
I didn't...
For a while.
Yeah.
For a while.
In the beginning, yes, right? He gets...
Why is Ash Ketchum not on here?
Yeah, I said Pikachu, right? But yeah, also by proxy, Ash Ketchum, right?
I just did the entire One Piece bender, and I can say that Sanji is definitely a better character than Zoro. I think Zoro is actually hugely overrated. I'm not even gonna lie. I think Zoro is wildly overrated.
Hot take. I'm not gonna push
I
back
think
on
Zoro
that.
might be my 7th or 8th in the ranking of the Straw Hat Pirates.
Yeah. I'm not.
Another one, Robin, I think should have been on this list. Also, Bulma!
Yeah.
Bulma should have been on here.
Listen. What I'm saying is this list should have been Dragon Ball. Like, Dragon Ball Z did a lot of, like, in America, I will say outside of Japan, right? I feel like Dragon Ball Z did a lot of heavy lifting for anime for a while.
Now, I think the problem is I hate lists like these, because how do you... Greatest anime characters. This just almost looks like you're the main character in one of the greatest animes, and that doesn't qualify you as like
right.
the
Are we
greatest
saying
anime
is this character had like the best character development? Or they completed their arc in the highest fashion? Because
Yusuke not being on here is a crime, honestly.
Goku not being number 1 is a crime, dog. Like, I'm saying there is no greater gateway anime.
Goku being number 5 is definitely a crime. Naruto is an awful character. Why is Sasuke not on here?
Ooh, okay. What do you think is the bigger gateway anime at this point? Dragon Ball Z or Naruto?
I think at this point it's probably Naruto, given it's bigger for the younger generation.
The demographic. Also, I will say that Naruto probably does have a better storyline. Dragon Ball Z is literally like...
I just finished my watch through, and it's basically like, oh shit, this guy's coming to blow up the universe. Oh shit, this guy's coming to blow up the universe. Alright, hold on, let me go on my take real quick. I came up with a take. I was, alright, so, the worst thing about Dragon Ball is the actual Dragon Balls.
Oh yeah, like if they just blew them bitches up.
Yeah, like, all of the fucking fights are like, oh, we'll just bring it back with the Dragon Balls. The only fight that really mattered was when Boo literally was blowing up everything, and they were worried about the actual Dragon Balls getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, that was the most consequential fight.
And
because when the actual Dragon Balls were threatened.
I'm over here like, just blow the Dragon Balls up, dude, because it's like everybody is like, it's shit is always starting because of the Dragon Balls. Somebody's coming down like, I heard you got the thing I'm looking for. I've already got 6 of them. I need that one. And Goku's like, ooh, I can't do that. Fair enough.
Beerus just wanted pudding.
But he's also like the strongest deity in the universe. What does he need the Dragon Balls for?
Whis is stronger. You know somebody is the strongest person in the show when everybody fears him and he literally has never thrown a punch.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Beerus doesn't want to fuck with Whis. Because you remember, if Beerus' universe gets destroyed, Beerus gets destroyed.
Yeah.
Whis just goes home.
Right.
Whis just goes home.
I just feel like...
I will say some of the ones that I don't think should be on here. I don't think Tanjiro should be on here.
I feel like it's fairly new to be making that call.
I don't think Tanjiro should be on here. I don't think Vash the Stampede should be on here.
Really? I feel like that's because you're young. I feel like Trigun
jumps off the rails halfway through. Those first 10 episodes of Trigun are great. The second half of that series is weird.
Have you watched the first half of Hunter x Hunter?
Several times.
It's very slow. Y'all are like, listen, just get through the first 100
into like Interstellar.
Calling it a John Wayne movie is kind of a stretch too, there, buddy. All right, like let's.
It goes from a Western to fucking
Christopher
Nolan's Interstellar.
It goes from like Stand By Me to like Deep Horizon.
Yusuke is better than Vash.
Yeah.
You can at least say, okay, Yusuke takes that.
Is more of an interesting character than Vash. No, but you know, the Trigun was part of that like quippy, witty, still kind of like fun like 80s anime, right? Like it wasn't. Yeah.
I'm so glad to see that Levi is here and Aaron is not.
Yeah, no, I feel the same. And now knowing what I know about Aaron, it makes that scene where Levi stomped the shit out of him so much more satisfying. Yeah, and that's a newer development here on. That's a newer series.
I'm not gonna say anything about
on this list.
Johan because like I said, I haven't seen Monster, and but I do know it is wildly critically acclaimed.
Spike, Vegeta also being on this list is great. I think Piccolo not being on this list is kind of none of this list means anything because we don't know by what metrics they are using to define great. Right? Like, it's a popularity contest, and they're once again saying that Luffy is the most popular character on this list is wild. That's a wild
I really
statement.
don't think Luffy is the most popular, like, there's a lot of One Piece characters that I'm surprised. I'm surprised the only 2 One Piece characters, I mean, Luffy doesn't surprise me, but fucking Zoro? Like, alright, Zoro is... Literally, the only reason Zoro's there is just like, do I get to fight stuff and drink and sleep? Okay, cool. I'm gonna back Luffy up. He's my homie. Why? Because he lets me fight and drink and sleep.
I mean, Dio Brando is on this list.
Dio's great.
No, he's
Dio's
not. He fucking burned a dog to death.
Dio
Literally,
is a great character.
the first thing Dio did when he got to the Jotaro residence was
steal
kick
his
the
girl.
dog. No, he kicked the dog. Remember, that was the first thing he did when he got out the car, was kick the fucking dog. And Jojo ran up and was like, "Who kicked my dog?" And Dio was like, "That's your dog?" And Joe was like, "It's okay. You didn't know it was my dog. It's nice to meet you, Dio." And Dio was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna have fun breaking your spirit."
Characters I have no problem with on this list. Edward Elric, I have no problem with. Personally, I think Alphonse Elric is a more fascinating character.
I think it's weird that he's number 2. Like,
I do think, I mean, that, until recently, I can't remember what anime knocked it off, but the highest critically acclaimed anime of all time was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I have no problem with Shinji on the list. I have no problem with Sailor Moon on the list. I think this is
Usagi.
also the type of list where 25 really doesn't even do it justice. But I will say it's really bad, like Bulma not being on there, Yusuke not being on there, Ash not being on there, Killua,
Yeah. Yeah.
My biggest takeaway is why the fuck is Yusuke Urameshi not on this list? It's like that. I think that's the biggest complaint I have is why is Yusuke not on this list? Yusuke and Ash.
And
Yusuke
Afro.
Ash.
And Afro. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna be the black guy in the room to go, "Hey, what the fuck about the black guy?" Like, come on, man. Everybody loves Afro Samurai.
So I did want to say, when I was finishing one of the last episodes of Dragon Ball Z, they're like, spread the word. We need to like Paul Revere about Majin Buu, and they all spread out into the town, and they're trying to convince everybody. And Piccolo lands, and literally everybody runs away. And I was like, Piccolo might be black.
Clutch your purse. It's aliens in town.
They said monster. It's a monster!
Oh god. Oh my god. Oh, it's just a fair reminder that all of this should be normal by now. And what else should be normal by now is
buying all of your Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Flesh and Blood, board games, card game supplies at tokenmtg.com. Use the promo code Ziggy to get 10% off of your order.
That's promo code Ziggy, and you guys know where to find us. That's at the Flood Pod on everything. Your final reminder that is also on everything.
Except for the email, which is thefloodpod@gmail, which is basically just reversed. If you want to send us any listener letters.
And we'll be back at you guys next week with more hot takes. Deuces.
Look, it's a flood.
It's a flood.
It's flooding.
Get away.
Quick, we need to get to higher ground.
Open the floodgates.
Wait, why can't we talk about black stuff?
I did want to ask you one thing, just a real quick one. I have like a 68-day streak on Duolingo.
Oh my god.
At what point should I feel proud of that? And is there ever any point where it's not pathetic to brag about that?
Problematic alert. Have you used conversational Spanish yet.
Un poco. Cuando yo trabajo.
Come again? Do you though?
Un poco. So I take that as I can feel proud of myself, but never talk about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't talk about it until you can apply it, right? That's
Or use it as a stand-up line.
That's the problem I feel like with the language learning apps is they're cool, and gamifying language learning is a good way to introduce people into.
At this point, they're sending me alerts like I'll disappoint Lily.
The
it's like a fucking warning from a Neopet at this point.
Yeah,
it's like you gotta feed your Tamagotchi
by learning a language. By becoming a polygon.
And they give you all of these random awards. They're like, you're at the top of the Ruby League. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess.
Right. Like the Tower of Babel, right? The
top of the Ruby League, whatever that means this week.
That means you are amongst the top of the people with nothing else to do but passively learn a language.
Poco.
I don't hate on it though. I mean, I have Duolingo on my phone now. Ask me when the last time I used it was.
Your Tamagotchi is dead.
Yes. My streak has been icy. Yeah, I'm iced out at this point. I'm sure I'm gonna have to spend all of my rupees just to get back to where I was, right? Because that's what I feel like that's what most people do with that kind of shit. Is you grind at it really hard for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months if you're really dedicated. But until you get the chance to apply that shit, you're not really I don't know. It's like Jeopardy facts, right? It's all useless. It's I can kind of pick apart sentences now when I'm around Spanish-speaking people, and I'm like, ooh, I know that word. Ooh, they're talking about their grandmother. Ooh, that person's on their way to the library.
Necesito practicar uso español para mi clase en la universidad. Es necesito.
I really hope one of our Spanish-speaking listeners comments on how excellent of a job his attempt was just now. Yeah, nah, I get it. It's better than me. I'm not gonna try, right? Because I totally exposed myself. I didn't learn anything practical from Duolingo, and that's my whole issue with those.
I've learned a little.
I mean, it's good for vocabulary stacking, I guess, and maybe grammatical structure if you're really paying attention to it. But I feel like this bit has gone on way too long.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.